I'm Karen Anderson. I am a CHRO of Mimecast, which is a cybersecurity organization. So pretty hot industry right now with threat intelligence and all the data breaches that we've had around the world. We're about 1,800 employees in all the different regions in the world. We operate in Australia and Europe and Canada and North America and the Middle East, and yeah, you name it, we're there. So that's very, very exciting. A little bit about my background. I've been in HR for over 25 years, mostly in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, actually. 25 years for Pfizer and Biogen and Bayer, and helped to build a startup in Boston called Alnylam, which is started when there were 150 employees and finished when there were over 1,000. So that was a very exciting journey of 4 or 5 years of my life building a company. And then I joined Mimecast in 2019 and have spent the last 2 years really taking an organization from sort of mid-size to a growth strategy and expand regionally. I think as a strategic HR leader, you have to have the skills and foresight to grow talent from within and also acquire talent. I think many individuals have seen the headlines of the Great Resignation and the high turnover that organizations are experiencing, and we're one of them. You know, we used to experience, a 10% turnover, and we're now closer to 20%, which is pretty typical in the tech industry, which means it's both a challenge of an organization you have knowledge leave an organization, but also an opportunity to bring in capabilities and to have individuals excited and energized about your vision and mission. At the same time, you have to pay attention internally. Employees will leave if they feel underappreciated. If you've taken it for granted what they do, and you can always count on certain individuals, that relationship is ever changing, the employee relationship, the give and the get. And so, my advice is to constantly iterate on the employee value proposition. Don't just think, well, this is our brand and we're done. And so you do have to rethink all the time. So for us in specific terms, thinking through mental health opportunities, how to support employees with remote management, how to engage through Zoom and tech, how to help employees gain mentorship when they weren't in the office. These are all things maybe 2 years ago were not as important because you got it when you came in the office and you were physically in the office and you had coaching and coffee chats. But now you have to be a little bit more methodical because it's not as easy just to have that handled organically. The other thing I would say about growth, sometimes, organizations add headcount because they haven't dealt with some of the tougher conversations around performance, or we have the wrong skills and capabilities and we haven't turned over enough in some places. So we just simply add more headcount. And so you have to be quite business acumen oriented as the HR leader to really help the organization talk through at the executive level, robust workforce planning, which means sometimes you have to move people along. Sometimes you have to pivot people into different jobs. The knee-jerk reaction of just adding headcount is kind of a lazy way to create a strategy. And so thinking about the talent that you have and truly where you need to add headcount, I think are important aspects. And certainly previously being in a smaller organization, adding headcount in a mindful way to be just slightly behind the growth curve that you're in allows for any risks that may happen in the organization to be absorbed. And if you have too many people and you have a risk or you have an issue that happens like a drug failure, then you end up laying people off. And so that's not great from an HR strategy. So trying to predict the agility that you may need is actually, I think, a strategic skill set that's pretty important these days. Yeah, so in a biotech company, for example, I'll give you that as an example, and then I can go back to Mimecast. So in a biotech, you can see how your drug may be progressing from a pipeline perspective. And there's always a little bit of wait and see in that marketplace, right? Are we going to get the results that we need? Because it's many controllables and uncontrollables. Are we going to be able to manufacture? Are we going to get the approval? Are we going to be able to get the approval in all the markets we need? So if you can take different approaches. You hire the headcount ahead of the curve, ahead of those business readouts, so that you're ready, or you tap just a little bit behind just in case something happens. And so the art form of having a strategic workforce plan, right time, right place, is like actually an important part of a growth curve, because if you overreach, then sometimes you're actually putting the organization at risk. Same thing at Mimecast. I'll use them as an example. Thinking through geographical expansion. We've had geographies be open, and we hire the critical talents needed on the ground, and we start small and make sure the brand and the interest in the products are there. And we've also had regions who've perhaps hired for the espoused vision, and perhaps had a little bit too many people before the vision was realized. And so both, if not done well, can be bad. So using your experience as the HR leader to have a bit of a fine tuning and have enough agility in the design is actually pretty important. Yeah.
Great.
Interesting as people exit an organization. Of course, we all do exit interviews, and we all get the same answer, right? Which is usually career progression, which is this big bucket, or it's compensation. And it's usually never compensation. Compensation is a hygiene factor after the person's already picked up the phone and had one or two conversations. And it's a cherry on top if there's more compensation. It usually comes down to they've lost touch with the mission and vision and purpose, and they're not feeling as energized, or they've gone underappreciated, or they've not had the resources to be successful in their job. So it does mean, as organizations, we have to think, how do we ensure our employees are connected to mission and vision? So storytelling, showing impact, and not taking that for granted. And sometimes when we've been out of the office, I know you have to really push yourself because you're on Zoom all day. The last thing you want to do is think about, well, how are we going to design an interactive Zoom all company event, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm sick of Zoom. So, but you have to think creatively. You have to think about the storytelling. You have to think about bringing the customers forward. You have to think about equipping managers and bringing in, perhaps external speakers to re-energize and motivate. So, we've been doing a lot of that. Today, in fact, we had a development day. We have development days all week this week. It's our employee development week, and just showcasing career pathing. So we had employees in the different parts of the business do short videos, and employees can go tap on that website, our internal website, and listen to the stories of people in different areas to learn about their career. So how to engage them to see the opportunities that exist internally, and get creative with that. So, yeah, but we've definitely been, focused on retention, stay conversations, making sure our managers have those proactive conversations around how you doing, what are you thinking about in terms of your career? What makes you excited? What makes you tired? Like what takes energy away? And stepping into those conversations and not being afraid of them. Yeah, I think leveraging top performers at every level can be a really exciting opportunity. There's, group mentoring or group sharing in we do a lot of breakouts on the Zoom and breaking people out into 5 or 6 people. And so you kind of are pushed into a breakout of people and you're like, oh, hi, I don't know you. it actually can be really exciting for people, and leaders emerge, right? You don't always have to plan it. Self-directed teams actually can be very exciting. And we use a lot of those types of techniques. And then just teaching our leaders and managers of how to lead. So investing in them to feel more confident. So we've brought in things like intention-based leadership, which is a concept of empowerment. And, teaching that language with some very simple tools so that individuals feel equipped to lead these types of conversations. And then just finding ways to have fun and encouraging teams to, have, whether it's, games or polls, or you've got to design with adult learning in mind so that there's not just a droning on of a PowerPoint, that there's interactivity. And that can be fun and exciting for folks. So those are some of the things that we've been using.